So let's look at startup life cycle. Would start with, let's say, x-axis as a time, because for a startup when they're starting their business, time is a very important factor. So if they're losing out on their time, they're definitely losing out on their, the business. And if they don't utilize or they don't run with the time, they will definitely lose the business and eventually they will go in the declining stage. This is basically the business gain or the growth. So business gain, when I'm telling you, it is something to do when they are actually entering into the break-even point. They're doing lots of cash flows. So definitely, if they're not gaining anything out of it, it's not a startup. It's something, there is a fundamental wrong that they are actually entered into, and that is why they're actually entering into the failure stages. So let's look at the first cycle. So as you can see that x-axis is time and y-axis is business gain. So negative axis is basically through which any startup would enter into any business environment. So when this, you can see that stage 1 is the curve which is below the x-axis. Now x-axis is nothing but a point which I have shown as a break-even point. So that is where all the economic factors involved, that if X amount of funds are invested, the startup would have to produce X amount of units, Y amount of units, and then go for a break-even point. But that's a kind of a financial business modeling, which I think most of the business management graduate, they can easily do it. So let's look at the philosophical side of it. So at stage 1, if any startup would basically start their business, they would eventually decline. So when they decline, why they decline? Because they burn their cash. They either they borrow money from their friends, family, relative, or they put their own funds into the development of the product. So eventually they're not doing any kind of a commercial businessing. That is where they're developing a kind of a prototype. So prototype, testing, environments, So that is where the cash is born. So as soon as any startup enter into the business environment, they eventually decline. So you can see that there is a declining path which leads to the value of death. So this value of death is basically the stage where most of the startups die. So if they don't come out of this value of death, and believe you me, it is the stage starting from 0 to 6 months time. So could be 7 to 8 months, excluding the pandemic. So 0 to 6 months time, if they don't come above this value of death, it's a shutdown. They are not being able to, if irrespective of how brilliant is the innovation. So definitely you can see, I have mentioned as that there are some variables which work towards the growth, and they are called enablers of growth. And there are some the variables which work as an inhibitors of the growth. So inhibitors which actually pull the graph down, enablers, they pull the graph up. So as soon as the startup would be at stage 1, and if there is a declining curve and it's going decline, so this could be any of the reasons due to either poor product market fit, bad product, or a missing entrepreneur. So everybody would be interested, what is this missing entrepreneur? So missing entrepreneur is nothing but that entrepreneur which has or lacks a zeal. It has entered as a co-founder, but either it is not doing justice to the startup, or is just waiting for other people to perform and then take the lead. As an Indian context, since I have been associated or I have been as an advisory board of many startups, so I see this kind of a behavior in most of the young entrepreneurs. They all of a sudden their interest will go out of the the box. They are not been able to return. So have faith, have trust in each and every team member of yours. You should not just leave things just like that. So this is the one very important reason, missing entrepreneurs. So now let's look at, as soon as the startup reach stage 2, that is where the lot of strategies are involved to push from the valley of death to stage 2. So that is where the enabling factors would work. So enabling factors would be, strategy, marketing mix, mentoring, incubation support at technology business incubators, and business models and the business description need to be kept in a very right and a positive direction. Unless the startups don't have those business model or business description, they're likely to fail. So generally, irrespective of brilliant innovation, the startups co-founders, they fail to research on their the business model or business description. So that is where still there is a gap. So that is where incubation support is very much required. If there is incubation support, you can see that at stage 2 I mentioned. So this is the stage that is where the incubation is very much necessary. So I had gone to one of the webinars, and there was this one speaker talking about that, why do you need incubation? It's not required, So the basic concept of the incubation is same, just like a baby is born. Baby will go for a step-by-step process. 9-month incubation is in the mother womb. So generally startups, when they are born, they go for a different life cycle till the time they don't reach 3 years where they can actually get to the level of doing a big commercial deal. They still need those incubation support or the mentoring. So that is where the concept of all these enabling factors come into picture. So I'll be talking about the stage 3, stage 3B, stage 4, stage 5, and stage 6 in later part of my slides. But just to move on, let's look at what are the inhibiting variables that pull the startup down. So if any of the startup which would have started with let's say part 1, if they have not identified the market, product, or again the entrepreneurs. So poor product market fit, bad products, such products are not required, missing entrepreneur, the core team member. If they have not done their sales and marketing strategies well, so if the first part is taken care of, still they lack those sales and marketing support. That is where they're investing in their sales and marketing too early. So definitely all those startups, when who have received, let's say, angel funding or series 1, 2, or series A, B, C, round 1, 2, still they are not been able to generate sales because they're burning more cash, and all of a sudden the cash gets tied up. So that's where the bad sales strategies, or they're investing in the sales too early, losing money on every sales. So that is where you must have realized that when e-commerce started, all of a sudden there was a mad race for most of the startups. Every startup was talking about e-commerce. So, and most of the startup who raised funding or Snapdeal or Paytm, most of the startups they were burning cash, so they were losing. Invisible startups. You are a startup, yes, you are funded, nobody knows you. So either you've not been able to promote very well. So again, some strategies missing. Part 3, execution. Now, I think everybody here would understand, if there is no execution of your business idea, model, or description. So execution is again the part of the journey, how you are actually entering into this business environment and maintaining that journey. So execution would also come with certain challenges. Failing to communicate, you will not be able to again use the right communication channel, use the right digital channels. So that I also do and conduct exercise related to 8 strategies of digital marketing about failing to communicate. Why and why not? The startups have not been able to communicate to the right channel. They have not been able to use the channels. So currently, since we are into uncertain times, if somebody is going for, the branding through more of a print media, I think it would be a bad strategy. Or think I would suggest that startup to go for some kind of a digital channel. Not getting started, again that push is there. You have the entire, the chariot, your horses, your mentors, your funds, but again, that kickstart is missing. So that is where the incubation support is very much required, because they tell you how to do that kickstart, how you still, the co-founders need to gain to start their business. And failing to execute, you are executing and you are failing, you are executing again failing. So again, some strategy issues, some either you're not doing the fundamentals right, or you're not working or have not worked on the business models. So again, you have not been able to execute them well. And the part 4 is, which is the last part, is capital and liquidity issues. So capital and liquidity issues may arise through, one of the startups, they are pitching to the investors, pitching it to the business partners for collaboration, and therefore, the pitches are getting failed. So either you are focusing more on not the key thing, the key values, and you are just trying to communicate more on. So this happens generally most of the technology people, that they are more focused in talking about the technology, and just missing the basic essence of that startup. So essence is just they have everything ready, they have the entire the chappan bhog ready, but that the taste is missing. So that is where the pitches, they are failing. So all those pitches which fail, irrespective if there is a huge the good innovation, they would go to the part 4, managing those liquidity well. So that is where, when we tell or when we advise all those startups, if you're looking for a co-founders, or if you have the co-founders, you should have at least 4 right co-founders. Right for co-founders, when I say, one person has to be from the business development side, one person has to be technical development side, and one person has to have those kind of a financial controller, a person who can control the finance. So let me give you an example from my HDFC Bank. So when I joined the HDFC Bank, I think everybody is aware about that. It's India's #1 bank, and Barclays is world #3 bank. So when I had gone to HDFC Bank, so in India, if anybody is coming from HDFC or ICICI Bank, he would know the reality of the life, how these banks are working and have scaled up to such a height. So in HDFC Bank, the first day my boss told me that, Deepak, so if you've not been able to do the cost controlling, forget yourself to be as a banker. So since we had come from management institutes, I used to study what this cost control and all is about. So I started with all those definitions. No, it's not that. See, with my printer, you had taken out 10 pages of a document. And I go, yes, I have taken 10 pages of my document. So why do you have to take out 10 pages when you had taken out 2 pages back and forth and used the 5 pages? So that is where it clicked my mind. See, he's a branch manager. He has to work on those costing and cost control factors. So even those small pages is added to the cost. So the co-founders should work on the initial. They should have those cost controlling factors. Okay. And last point, from failure to success. Believe you me, not anybody who's entering into business world, even Chetan Bhagat, when passed on IIM and I product, when he entered into writing books, 4 or 5 publishers, his script got rejected. Amish, his scripts got rejected. Startups, when they're pitching, they are failing. So failure is no end. They should rise up and again start working on their success model. So I have discussed these inhibiting variables. So let me discuss about the enabling factors of any startups at the growth stage. So this is the growth stage when I mentioned. So this is the stage of above the break-even point, the stage 3, 3A, 3B, and then 4, 5, and 6. So first factor is if any startup has maintained the break-even point, they should go and search the senior executive. Who is the senior executive? Senior executive are the people from the industries who have 25 to 35 years of experience. Go to them, work on the business model innovation again, because they have those traditional industry experience. So if you're innovating today, you should understand, or the startup co-founders should understand the industry, as in what does it require those innovation. So this person will tell you about whether there is innovation required or not. So those startups should have a senior executive. Entrepreneurs are basically the people from the experience who are around 15 to 25 years experience, who will help those startups or co-founder to exploit the latest technological developments with right business model. Again, business models. The real entrepreneurs. Find the real entrepreneurs again, who are at the age of like 0 to 10 years of industrial experience, but they have the zeal and enthusiasm. They can work on those the new business innovations, and they have those another value add ideas. So when I'm saying that scalable business model, so that is where the ideas need to be archived, and ideas can also have to have come from the right co-founders. Investors. Look out for the investor. You should not get started with one investor or the investor. You should go on for more collaboration, more business deal, and look out for investor who has or is into your industry. So if a person is into supply chain management, he should go for a supply chain management incubation center, and would go for people who come with from such kind of investing background into supply chain management. Consultant. The consultant will scale your startup once he sees that this startup has some kind of a unique proposition. So you should also consult different people who are into the industry. The sixth, the designer. So designer is something which will garnish your startup all the time. So your startup would look definitely beautiful. I'm not saying that the overemphasized, but it should be presentable. It should be sellable. If this innovation is not sold to the right people with proper design, then it lacks something. And last but not the least, the conscious entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneur is constantly thinking about what is this social and economic change this will add, or if there is a social economy, definitely it is adding to the ecosystem at large, or the economic development of the country. So initially economic developing of the state, and then the economic development of the country, and then nation building. So we had seen one of those definitions that the entrepreneur should work on the nation building sides.